coming up tonight on VCU InSight.
Two local men are trying to stop the spread of Ebola in Western Africa, one item at a time.
A local elementary school has started a new hands-on program designed to help students learn their SOL objectives.
And an international YouTube sports sensation comes to Richmond, placing a new take on the game of soccer.
All this and more.
VCU InSight starts right now.
From the Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University, named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic, this is VCU InSight.
It's been in the news for months, but now with cases right here on American soil, along with the thousands of cases in Western Africa, Ebola has become a household word. The CDC has issued a Level 3 warning for all U.S. residents to avoid non-essential travel to Liberia. However, if you must, they urge travelers to use caution. Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Isabel Setembrino.
And I'm Adam Epstein. Thanks for joining us tonight. The situation in Liberia becomes more dire each day. Last week, aid workers put out a call for more body bags because they didn't have enough for all of the victims. But two Richmond men are trying to help, and while they can't provide body bags, they're hoping what they can provide will help slow the spread of the deadly virus. InSight's Randy Ayala is in the newsroom with more. Good evening, Randy.
Good evening, Adam. The men have been working for several weeks to collect items that may help in Western Africa. It's not a huge investment for people who want to donate, but they're hoping it's the little things that can help. The truck you're looking at could possibly make a huge difference for families in Liberia.
These supplies are going in the villages where the epicenter is.
It's being filled with cleaning supplies, everything from bleach to pine sol, and other germ-killing cleaners.
Bleaches and clean.
All part of a campaign to help protect Liberians from contracting the disease.
Ebola has become a World Health emergency crisis. We got to fight this thing together.
And these are the two men who decided to take on the challenge. Reverend Dr. Birch, who started Valley, has family and friends living right in the heart of Liberia.
My oldest daughter is there. She's scared. They're all quarantining houses.
According to the CDC, Ebola has taken the lives of over 4,000 West Africans already, and the numbers are growing.
But I have some friends who have lost several of their relatives.
The main things they're asking for are cleaning items such as bleach or wipes. Common household items that don't cost more than a few bucks could be all the difference in containing this deadly virus. Volunteer Adam Kine wants to urge the public to get involved and do something to make a difference.
And that's the reality. There are a lot of people dying. And that is a concern that needs to not only trigger the attention of everybody.
Although this is a fairly new campaign, donations have been coming in at a slower pace than they would have hoped for.
We thought by now we would have shipped the first container. This is all that we have right now.
Items that cost little to nothing could mean something huge for someone else. Life or death.
Just a little sanitizer that you would give can help a whole family, can help.
Donations are tax deductible and supplies can be dropped off at the Virginia Mission Board. They're hoping they can get this shipment out to Monrovia, Liberia by the end of this month. Back to you, Adam.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
Since this year's SOL scores were released, some Richmond public schools have had to go through major restructuring, leading one school's beloved principal to lose his job. InSight's Forrest Nguyen reports.
During the first October school board meeting, parents lined up for public speaking to fight for G.H. Reed's principal, Vincent Darby.
I wanted to defend a leader that promotes some very talented young folks.
G.H. Reed had become a priority school, meaning it has one of the lowest SOL scores in the state. This priority status forces the superintendent to enact a state education improvement plan which requires the removal of the principal. Parents like Gladys Tucker think that Darby is much more important than what the state can give them.
Because he has that just, karma, charisma, education, and patience and tolerance. And that's what he had for me and my son when we came into G.H. Reed. It was during the summer, and he was working in his casual wear. And he said, all right, Miss Tucker, I'll get my crew together, give me what you got, and we'll work with it.
And what the state can give them is $300,000 in grant money dedicated to G.H. Reed. Janice Garland of the Virginia Department of Education says that removing the principal is key to get funds to G.H. Reed within the year.
If we do not remove the principal, we have to consider this a pre-implementation year. we would be at the table again next fall, still determining whether the principal had the capacity to lead the turnaround.
Darby is now demoted to vice principal till the Virginia Education Department knows what to do with him, with Angela Delaney from Jeb Stewart Elementary taking over as interim principal. For VCU InSight, this is Forrest Nguyen.
We reached out to Darby for a comment, but he declined, only saying that he was disappointed.
The VCU police force is making major strides in campus safety. The campus police were recently awarded and became the first state school in Virginia to have campus police accreditation. The department received a notice from the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators earlier last month. The group represents more than 1,200 colleges across 20 countries. VCU police had to meet a list of over 200 standards to be considered, and while the process can take up to 3 years, it took VCU police just 18 months. The department will be officially recognized at the annual conference next year.
After receiving a grant to travel the Silk Road from Asia to Europe this past summer, a VCU student and artist is now working on a series of sculptures. The sculptures represent her journey and experience and will be part of an exhibit next year. InSight's Erica Rivas is in the studio to tell us more.
I'm in the studio with Ling Ling Koo, VCU student and artist. Ling Ling, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
So you traveled down the Silk Road over the summer, and now you're working on a series of sculptures to show your experience in your trip. And the trip is from Asia to the Middle East. Can you tell us a little bit about your trip and how that inspired you?
This topic is meaningful to me because as an international student studying in the U.S., I often find myself echoing what people were doing along the Silk Road, which is idea exchanging, exploring, and cultural blending. I guess it's my background and the life abroad that made me want to explore more of the world and at the same time trace back my roots. And Silk Road is perfect for both.
Well, we have video of you actually working on a sculpture and with suitcases. Can you tell us a little bit more about that specific sculpture?
I was inspired by the experience of waiting at the airport. I saw different people carrying similar suitcases, and I'm curious about what's the difference inside and what's important to them and what are their stories. So there was a moment I wish their suitcases would become transparent, like a book unfolding in front of me, so that I could read a page of them. And that's how this project came from.
Well, I've never traveled down the Silk Road, and I'm sure many of our viewers haven't either. Can you tell us about something that you may have found unique or interesting?
Yeah, there are several very interesting transport ways that I've never experienced before. For example, when I was at the Yellow River, I saw a special raft made by sheepskin. This is the sheepskin. It's the skin of the whole ship, and if blow from one spot, it will pop up like a balloon. People there use that, pop the sheepskin as a raft to move down the river. It was fascinating that how life could be so different and so creative.
Well, how far did you travel down the Silk Road? Did you walk through all of it? Did you drive through it?
I took probably all kinds of transport ways, like include the airplane, the train, the bus, horse riding, donkey, like sheepskin rafting, all kinds of that, and about 3,000 kilometers, which is about 4 miles.
So, because the Silk Road is 4,000 miles, so you didn't get to finish it. How far did you get? Did you still Asia, or did you get close to the Middle East?
I'm just trying to stop. I just stopped at close to the Middle East because of the political discontent there.
So would you like to go back one day to finish your trip?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very time-space compressed journey that I feel I only saw the tip of the iceberg, and I believe that there's still so many things there I could explore. So yeah, definitely I want to go back and continue the journey to the final destination.
I've been speaking with Ling Ling Koo, VCU student and sculptor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's really good.
Thanks, Erica. One of Richmond's well-known music venues recently sold to one of the world's largest entertainment providers. AEG Live, which owns the Staples Center and holds large music festivals such as Coachella, purchased the National last month. The downtown venue sold for almost $7 million. According to a spokesperson for the National, this change in ownership should bring in bigger artists and more shows. The employees of the venue will stay the same.
Richmond history is being placed back in the spotlight. After being partially closed for almost a year, the Valentine is reopening to the public and showcasing an exhibit strictly based on Richmond history. InSight's Latiana Harris has more on the story.
The Valentine has been full of designers, developers, and construction workers for the past year, working to create a brand new museum. Museum director Bill Martin says this is a fresh start for the gallery.
It's not just the exhibition, but it's new education spaces, new public spaces, new community galleries, even new restrooms and a new gift shop. So it's everything. So it's starting over.
As part of the new beginning, the museum is revealing a new exhibition centered entirely around Richmond, entitled This is Richmond, Virginia. Exhibition curator David Volkel says the exhibition will focus on 5 major themes looking at Richmond's history over several hundred years.
So we're really looking at that rich, full tapestry of Richmond history from our earliest history really right up to the modern day.
On the floor behind me is a hand-painted map of 1856 Richmond, created by local restoration artist Nancy Beck. As you can see, the floor is being covered and protected while the renovations are entering its final stages, but the design will be revealed come opening day. What you see here is a time-lapse video of Beck creating the urban map of Richmond circa 1856. The entire process took a total of a little over 3 weeks to complete. All of the $8.6 million funding for the project renovations came from local, Richmond-based sources.
It's really been a large community effort to raise the money to do this major project.
A major project that has been 20 years in the making. For VCU InSight, I'm Latiana Harris.
This is Richmond, Virginia is now open and will be the core exhibit of the museum. Fans of the Fan are rejoicing over their great neighborhood. The American Planning Association has recently named the Fan District one of the greatest neighborhoods of the year. In 2007, the APA named Monument Avenue a great street, and now the neighborhood as a whole has been added to the list of honors. The Fan neighborhood was developed in the 1930s and was recognized for its variety, architecture, and upkeep of older buildings. Local business owners and the Fan District Association say they're proud of the recognition.
A new program involving an aquaponics system kicks off at Carver Elementary School this year. The system is designed to give students more hands-on learning experience to SOL objectives. InSight's Joel Tyler is in the newsroom with more details. Good evening, Joel.
Good evening, Isabel. It is the idea of fish and plants living in harmony that create this environment able to sustain itself. Because of this, students over at Carver Elementary School are now able to witness life science firsthand. From growing their own plants to feeding the fish, this has created a more interactive experience for students to gain a basic understanding of natural science.
Yep, good. I liked it.
This aquaponics system allows kids to access fresh local food and participate in its production. With donations adding up to over $3,000 from VCU and Carver Civic Improvement League, project manager Casey Rogers thinks the project will interest more kids to natural science.
Our kids aren't exposed to things like that, or even the idea of careers in that field and all that. I had no idea what it was. So I think it's really interesting to have everybody learn about it.
By growing their own plants inside their classroom, the kids are able to get a more hands-on experience to get them ready for the SOLs. Greenhouse manager Arthur Kay built the aquaponics system so kids can witness SOL objectives rather than learning from a worksheet.
So the first graders, of course they need to learn about this parts of the plant. So we're talking about, the different parts of the plants and the plant life cycle a little bit. They're seeing the plant life cycle.
So what you think is just an environment creating nutrients and cleaning toxins in the water is actually creating an involving experience for the faculty and students here.
They're all coming down here excited. Oh, it's so cool. And it gives them and their mentors something else to talk about.
And although Carver is the first school to have its own aquaponics system living in its greenhouse, faculty and staff are hopeful that it will grow inside other school classrooms as well. Now back to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Joe. Midterm elections are coming up on November 4th, and Virginia voters getting ready for Election Day should now be prepared to show ID. A new Virginia law requires voters to show valid ID before voting. According to the Washington Post, about 200,000 Virginia voters do not have proper IDs. However, anyone without IDs will still have a chance to cast their ballot. They will need to fill out a provisional ballot at the polls or apply for a temporary voter ID card at the local registrar's office. Some acceptable forms of identification are driver license and passport.
If you're a fan of Broadway, you may be a fan of her work and not know it. Since 2007, this professor has been working with VCU students to dress the actors who grace Broadway stages. InSight's Alex Treehouse is in the studio to tell us more.
I'm here with Tony Leslie James, the VCU Theater Department Associate Professor and Director of Costume Design. Tony, thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good, great. So what got you into costuming for Broadway?
I went to Ohio State University. I studied theater, did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I just wanted to be around theater. I had no idea that I was actually going to graduate as a costume designer. And I fell into it, moved to New York in 1980, basically a month to the day after I graduated from Ohio State. Worked as a wardrobe supervisor for a number of companies, mainly Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, which I consider my graduate school because I don't have a graduate degree. And I left the company to begin to be a costume designer, and through luck I was hired to design a show at a theater in New Jersey, Crossroads Theater Company, and they were doing a new play. That play happened to be Spunk. The director happened to be George C. Wolfe, and he was becoming George C. Wolfe that we know today. And as he moved up, I was fortunate enough to move with him, because basically most theater work is predicated on a director having a team of designers, and I just happened to be part of George C. Wolfe's team. So that's basically how we get jobs on Broadway.
All right. Well, we have some video of you working with the VCU students,
Great.
The theater VCU students. So quickly take me through the process that you go through to help them create these costumes.
Well, here Emily and I are discussing. We are actually have a production of a new version of Frankenstein, which will be absolutely incredible, and we were discussing her concept, which he hasn't yet evolved completely. So, and DeVario, as you see here, has designed Man of La Mancha, which is more traditional, to graduate students within the department. They all start out with fabrics and research and swatching, and develop all of their designs from scratch, from the fabric, the buttons, the research. We also insisted our students go to New York because all the fabrics are in New York. They swatch all their shows to New York, bring the fabrics back, and work with the student drapers and our costume shop supervisor, Nino Russell, in creating the costumes. So all of the costumes at VCU are designed by our students.
Awesome. So really quickly, what's next for you?
A number of shows in New York, a production called Rashida Speaking, starring Diane Wiest and Tanya Pinkins. Emily Atkins, my third year grad student, is actually assisting me with that. That's the new group in New York City. We're doing Familiar with Teresa Bush, another former graduate student at Yale Rep. And then we are doing Brownsville song, B-Side for Trey, with DeVario at the Long Wharf. So that's coming up in January and February, and so we're really happy that we could keep moving.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I've been speaking with Tony Leslie James, the Broadway costume designer and VCU Associate Professor and Costume Director. Tony, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Some people complain about there not being enough good news in the world, but a local woman has started a monthly newspaper to combat the negative perception of Richmond's Northside community. InSight's Bria White has more on the story.
One woman and a computer. Dion Flavor created Northside Vibes to cover positive news that oftentimes does not make prime time.
The media would cover or feature negative news. We would miss out on all the positive news.
Nanny Carter has been living in Northside for over 50 years. She says the paper opened her eyes to good aspects of the neighborhood as opposed to the bad ones that she's used to.
The bad things was outweighing the good things, but there's still a lot of good going on in this neighborhood.
Northside Vibes has a circulation of 1,000. Flavor launched her paper with just $22 and an office space provided by an adult education program called the Dream Academy.
According to an article in the Virginia online news site called The Examiner, Richmond crime rates have actually gone down since 10 years ago. Richmond went down to 49 from 114 in 2004. Though the paper is only in its second monthly edition, Flavor has high hopes for community involvement in the future.
Well, we haven't had a newspaper for this deserving community in quite some time, many, many years. So in conducting my research and becoming a resident of Northside of Richmond, I thought, what a great way to share my gifts and talents.
Talent she hopes to continue to share with the Northside community. For VCU InSight, I'm Bria White.
Northside Vibes can be picked up at the Dream Academy on Brooklyn Park Boulevard. New technology may crack down on texting and driving. According to textinganddrivingsafety.com, text messaging makes a car crash 23 times more likely to occur. With that in mind, a Virginia company, ComSonics, is developing a texting radar for police departments. This is being done to not only protect drivers, but pedestrians as well. 1 out of 5 drivers justify their texting by only using their phone at a stoplight. No word yet on when the new radar will be developed and put to use.
Here at VCU, the Rams have made a name for themselves when it comes to basketball. It's called Havoc, and I went behind the bleachers for a preview of the upcoming season.
Kicks it back out. Trevion Graham for 3 for the win. It's good! Trevion Graham!
Last season, the Rams went 26-9, finished the season second in the Atlantic 10, and were given a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. This season, the Rams have high expectations with an ESPN-ranked number 14 recruiting class. Head coach Shaka Smart knows highly sought-after freshman Terry Larrier will have the spotlight on him, but it's important he focuses on the present.
The biggest key for him is going to be coming into practice and coming into games with a clear head for just being the best he can be right now.
Aside from bringing in the talented freshman class, the Rams lost their starting center in Javante Reddick, but VCU Athletics Director of Creative Content and author of VCU blog Around the Horns, Chris Kowalczyk, thinks Mo Ali Cox can make an impact in that position.
He seems to take things in stride. He doesn't seem to be a really high-strung guy. You saw he got better as the year went on last year.
Here at the Siegel Center, sitting in some of these brand new suites here in the stadium, a lot of renovations, including a new scoreboard. So a lot of changes, but as always, Shaka Smart is ready for a new season.
If you're a basketball player or a coach, this is an exciting time of year.
The Rams began practice last week, and NBC 12's Mark Davis is eager to see how this team will look come game time.
You know, it's an exciting season. They lost some pieces with Reddick and Brandenburg last year, but they're filling in nicely with a talented group of freshmen. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that this may be their best, deepest team ever. They are far and away Atlantic 10 favorites.
As we mentioned, VCU basketball fans will be seeing several new additions as they return to watch the Rams play at the Siegel Center, including that brand new scoreboard. The 4-paneled LED screens will sit high above fans for instant replay action and up-to-the-minute statistics. And not to mention, the scoreboard is huge. It's 11.5 feet tall and 15.5 feet wide. The new business suites and a sound system have also been added to enhance Rams fans' experience at the Siegel Center.
And finally tonight, an international YouTube sports sensation is coming to Richmond.
This version of soccer that is taking the nation by storm involves a unique twist. InSight's Alex Trias has more on the story.
It's not your typical game of soccer. Not only do these players need to be quick on their feet, but they also need to avoid getting knocked to the ground by another player in, of all things, a giant bubble.
That's amazing. I love it. Love it.
The game is called bubble soccer, which is a combination of soccer and inflatables. Although the game is similar to traditional soccer, co-founder of RVA Sports and Social Club Michael Damon says there are some significant differences.
It's got the checking or the hitting of hockey in there, or football with the impact as well. So it's really kind of tying in a lot of different sports, and I think that's what the excitement's around it.
The sport is slowly growing in popularity in the U.S. thanks to YouTube videos, and many teams have been formed throughout the country.
The bubble soccer players know that their game gets a lot of laughs, but they're aiming for a goal that's much higher than that. The RVA Sports and Social Club is looking to form one of the first official bubble soccer leagues in the U.S.
The National Association of Bubble Soccer has been working to create leagues in the U.S. since 2013, and Richmonders are looking forward to it coming here in the next few weeks.
You think the ball's going to stay at your foot, and then you realize you have a 25-pound ball on you.
Yeah. We're getting a league. Yeah, like a team. Yeah, we're getting a team together.
And if you're worried about getting hurt, referee Josh Conkle says you'll be okay.
I can imagine that there'll be some sore rear ends from falling. Maybe some scraped knees, but as long as you're strapped in with the straps the correct way, you're holding on to the grips, you should be fine.
But until the leagues officially launch, the players will continue to enjoy the laughs and memories they make while wrapped in plastic. For VCU InSight, I'm Alex Treehouse.
My gosh, that sure looks like fun.
I want to play. I feel like I'd be the Cristiano Ronaldo of bubble soccer.
Oh my God.
Is that saying too much? I think it'll be fun. And that's it for this edition of VCU InSight. Make sure to check us out on our website at insight.vcu.edu. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight. Contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
And if you miss our show or would like to watch it again, you can find us on YouTube at VCU InSight. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Isabel Settembriano.
And I'm Adam Epstein. We'll see you next time.